Welcome back to this installment of the Purple Rain Report. Yes, welcome back to this installment of another Purple Rain Report. Been a while since we've seen you guys, so hope you all are doing well. Right now it's Thursday, so Friday Eve. Thank you for coming through and watching this. And as always, you can follow us on Instagram at the Purple Rain Podcast. You can follow this guy on Instagram, on Twitter at Sutton. Follow me on Instagram at simplyas10.prod and on Twitter at simplyas10. And most importantly, our sponsor, Manscaped. Go on there, get yourself something nice. You can see my boy Sutton's beard is nice, and it's very, very hot today. All right. They do have something called the ball deodorant. You know deodorant from under the arms. Listen. It's getting that time. It was about like 80-some degrees today. Feels even worse when you're sitting out there in the sun. Go on there, get yourself some. Code PRP, 20% off your whole order, free international shipping. It's the best deal around, if I were to say so myself. That's just me.
Yeah, I mean, you're not lying there. And you bring up a very good point about that ball deodorant, Alex, because not only do they have that, but they also have what they call the crop reviver. So, like,
Mm-hmm.
let's say for those instances where, like, you took a shower in the morning, you're out doing stuff during the day or whatever, and then all of a sudden you have something to do at night, right? But you don't have time to get another shower in. They have the crop reviver, you give a few spritz, it basically makes you good as new. You're fresh as a baby's
Yes.
bottom, just like you were that morning. So, I mean, just something to think about if you want to get your hands on something like that. It's a great product. Me and Allison definitely personally attest to it. Manscaped has sent us those products personally. Yeah, definitely try it out and use our code PRP to save yourself 20% plus the free international shipping. You guys already know the drill at this point. But here today, we came here to talk about the draft, right? The draft is a week removed or a week removed from the draft, and we have not posted anything. So you have not heard any of Alex or I's opinions, at least not on the channel. If you follow us on Twitter or Instagram, you could see maybe some things we say here or there about, who we picked up. But overall, we have not gave our shared opinions on this topic. So this is something that I've been waiting to get into, and I've been kind of like looking over these guys the past couple of days now. When I look over these guys, Alex, and I was kind of telling you this before we went live, I really do like to take my time because these are guys who are. It's not like preparing for the draft where you kind of have to learn about hundreds of different players, and you've got a big board of players like a lot of these guys do. And shout out to them, but that's just not me. I know it's not you either. So when we actually do finish the draft and we have our guys, like we have our Ravens, right? That's when I like to kind of do my deep dives, and I've done that on the majority of the guys so far. But the main ones I've done it are for the are going to be the ones I mentioned tonight. So you guys will see that we're going to do biggest surprises of the draft. We're going to do our favorite picks of the draft, and we're going to do our biggest misses of the draft as well. So we're going to go ahead and start. We're going to go ahead and start with the biggest surprise of the draft. I think that this one is it's an interesting one, right? But I want to, I'll let you start. I'll let you start
Okay,
on
that's
this one.
fine. That's
Yeah,
fine.
I'll let
That's
you
fine.
start on this one, Alex. Who was your biggest surprise of the Ravens 2024 draft class?
I don't want to say it's like too much of a surprise, but to me, I didn't think we were going to go corner in first round. I didn't think that was a pressing need.
Yeah.
But when a guy like Nate Wiggins does fall, I'm all for jumping on it. We talked about it many a times. Our biggest needs: line, receiver, edge, corner was what 4 on there maybe. I
Yeah.
mean, if we're talking line, it's tackle and guard. It wasn't just a guard or a tackle. So honestly, maybe it was our fifth need. Tackle, guard, receiver, edge, then corner. That was a little bit of a surprise to me, but probably one of the bigger surprises I'd say. Um, I'll go with Devontae Walker in round 4.
Mm,
I thought we were going to get a receiver, but maybe earlier. And at that point, I'm like, why are you getting somebody when I feel like this is just me? Guys drafted on day 3 as a receiver with the Ravens, more times than not, don't pan out. They get stashed on the special teams. They get stashed down in the pecking order. They don't see the field. And if they do, it's very minimal. So those are kind of my surprises. Feel free to agree or disagree, but just kind of how I felt on that round 4 pick. Like it, but still I'm a little surprised by it.
Got you. So you like it, but you definitely don't love it. And I can understand that. I can definitely understand that. Yeah.
Just because it's not because of the player, it's because of the situation. And I want him to
Mm.
get his time, but I just feel like he's going to be a gunner down there come week 8, week 9, and we're going to be saying free Tez Walker. Just like we've done with so many receivers prior.
No, I mean that's a good point. That's a good point. But I think that I would concur the most with the first statement that you made about Nate Wiggins being the biggest surprise of this draft. And surprise, surprise, we drafted a corner in the first round. Nobody really saw that coming. But at the same time, I remember when we were talking about in the episodes leading up to the draft, how the Ravens aren't necessarily in a full rebuild mode where they're going to have to go out and kind of retool their entire roster. No, I mean they're kind of like fine tuning and patching up certain holes that they have on their roster to kind of get them over the hump into that next level, which is now that we know to be a Super Bowl for this Ravens team. So for them to go out and get a cornerback, it really did feel like BPA, best player available, right? Kind of the same thing that we did with a Kyle Hamilton, kind of reinforcing that secondary, which wasn't, again, like you said, it wasn't the highest on the priority list. It might have been like fourth, maybe fringe fifth if, depending on who you are and what you prioritize. But no, that was the biggest shocker to me. Now, when it talking about Nate Wiggins specifically, when I was going over his tape, I watched your video, and of course a lot of other guys' videos as well on him, and then kind of some draft breakdowns, some video of him, some raw tape of him at college at Clemson. And what I really liked from Nate Wiggins and what really jumped off the tape to me is the fact that he reminds me a little bit, just a little bit, of like a Marlon Humphrey, a little bit, right? But not as stocky, and he has kind of like a sort of a more wiry frame to him. But the thing about him is, man, he's got very active and very coordinated hands, right? I don't think I've ever seen a guy who's running as fast as he can. And by the way, he's fast as hell, right? Nate Wiggins is probably the fastest cover corner in this draft, right? Um, for somebody to be that fast and to still be able to track down a ball carrier and where the ball is at and be able to get your hand up and around this guy's moving arms while you're moving behind him at, again, a very high speed, and you punch that ball out. He's done that multiple times. One of them, he had the famous one against, I can't remember the game, it was against who. You probably
I
know
think it
better
was
than I would.
Pitt. I think it was Pitt.
Versus Pitt, where the guy is like right there at the goal line and Nate Wiggins punches it out.
Either Pitt or UNC.
Okay.
One of the two.
Yeah. So I mean, but that was a play right there that really, really jumped off the screen to me. Also, again, I mean, like I said, it reminds me a little bit of Marlon Humphrey, but also the attitude that this kid plays with as well. Like that's kind of like the play like a Raven mentality that I want out of a
Mm-hmm.
corner. I mean, he's got crazy attitude on him. He's got really good recovery speed. He's got really good natural speed as well. And again, he's got some very coordinated and active hands. And I love all of those things. And I feel like adding him to the fold with a Kyle Hamilton, with a Brandon Stevens, with a Marcus Williams. This
Yes.
secondary, man, is loaded. So it was my biggest surprise. It was my biggest surprise of the draft, but also kind of ended up being it's growing on me every day. I'll say that. That pick is growing on me more and more every day, just kind of knowing how good some of these passing attacks are in the AFC and knowing that our defense, is being developed for that.
Yeah, and we can go into it more on a live video, but I was thinking about the future of this secondary room. Brandon Stevens, the free agent for this year. Marlon has
Yeah.
probably a year or two left on this deal, so like I said, going on, as the days go on, I'm kind of understanding it more and more. And I'm glad you brought up Kyle Hamilton because to me, I think Nate Wiggins is another Kyle Hamilton. Um, Dropped because of his weight. He was lighter than they wanted because he wanted to run fast at the combine. They put that weight right back on. Same reason Hamilton fell because of his 40 time. If you're gonna let these guys fall to us, I'll take it every day. He'll be a day one starter. I think he'll go in there, he'll play and he'll make plays. So very, very confident in his abilities, which I love to see. Borderline cocky, but I'm just going to go confident because he just got drafted. But he'll be a stud for us. Wearing the number 2 as well. I want to talk about that. Single digit as a rookie, you got to be something serious.
Got to ball
So
out.
I'm looking forward to seeing Nate Wiggins as a Raven, but he definitely has that play like a Raven mentality. yeah, so
Okay.
yeah, on to the next.
Yeah. So yeah, on to the next. So the next one, the next category we're going to cover is the biggest bust, right? So our least favorite pick of this
Mm,
draft, and this one's
yeah.
gonna probably spark a little controversy, raise some eyebrows here. But
Okay.
I'll start on this one.
Okay, you'll start.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. So my biggest miss for this draft, biggest bust, whatever you want to call it, I'm gonna go with our second pick. I'm gonna go with Roger Rosengarten, the offensive tackle, man. And this again, this might be a controversial one because I see a lot of people kind of giving him high praise because he protected Michael Penix's blind side, and that's something that is very valuable in the NFL, obviously, and just football in general. But when upon looking at his tape and also his performance against higher competition, especially looking at that game against Michigan in the national championship game, where he didn't really have a whole lot of answers for the higher end pass rushers that were coming after him in that game. And it kind of got me a little bit worried for how he's going to fare in the NFL, where literally week in and week out, he's playing against that level of competition. But more technically speaking, right, I think that the read on him is more so that he's a guy who is very athletic, right? Very light on his feet. He can get to certain points very quickly. And of course, we love that. We appreciate that. He's also good with his hands. But at the same time, I think that he lacks a little bit of lower body strength, and you can see that on certain moves that are pulled on him. So, example, when an edge rusher defender kind of goes and hits a bull rush move at him, he gets pushed straight back into the quarterback's lap, and that is like consistent with the tape that I was watching on him for the past couple of days. You have that, and then also just he doesn't anchor very well either. On top of that, so it's just and that part of that reason is because he is a tall guy. He plays with a higher pad level, so he doesn't necessarily do well when guys kind of get right underneath him and into his chest and kind of drive him back because that forces you to anchor yourself and use your lower half. And he's more of a guy who's using his feet to be quicker and beat the guy to the point of attack. Where if a guy bull rushes you, that's not going to work. So I could see, especially in our division, you have a lot of guys who kind of line up over the right side of the line. Most notably, TJ Watt, for example, who we're going to have to see
Yeah.
twice this year. Of course, just like every year, he's going to be lining up and going directly at Roger Rosengarten and giving him fits. I mean, there's other guys who play over the other side primarily, like a Miles Garrett. You got Trey Hendrickson who plays on that side. You got Joseph Osai who kind of bounces back and forth, right? But you've got a lot of guys, a lot of edge rushers in the AFC North who are going to give this guy problems. That's like you say, by week 8, we might be saying free Tez Walker. By week 8, we might be saying
Yeah.
start Faalele. You know what I mean? And I know Daniel
Mm,
Faalele and Rosengarten are going to have a battle in training camp to see who wins that spot. But man, I kind of hope Lele wins it, and then Rosengarten kind of steps up later on after he kind of gets
yeah.
after Joe D coaches him up a little bit. But that was my biggest miss
Yeah.
of the draft. I felt like that we should have went and gotten the offensive lineman in the first round and been more intentional about it. Again, taking nothing away from the Nate Wiggins pick, but I would have just preferred offensive lineman in the first round. So, but what do you think?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not mad what you said. You came backed up with facts, and I mean, having a guy like that and throwing him in the fire week one is, I mean, depends who he plays. But like you said, Miles Garrett, T.J. Watt, Trey Hendrickson. If he's still with the Bengals, if he lines up on that side, but I'm gonna go honestly. Rasheen Ali, the running back, was my miss. I knew we were gonna get a running back. I was hoping it'd be a different type of build of a running back. He's a small speedster, and to me, we have that. Now, maybe this is special teams, but he also, I think, had 11 fumbles, I think. And right there, we've already had our issues with the fumbles. And just that right there just didn't sit right with me. Not saying he can't be a great player, but I'm going to go with that one. And then another one maybe would be Nick Samek, the center out of Michigan State, just because he broke his leg in November. They expect him to be healthy this month, but it's just the drafting of injured guys, the eyewear guys. It's like you're getting them at a cut rate cost, but what's the price they're paying? He
Right.
can play guard or center, but I mean, honestly, a couple and the safety from Purdue we got, I felt like Bo Braid undrafted was better value than him, and then Kane in the 7th round. it feels like we're just taking picks to take them. We have these picks. Oh, why not just take them? Like I don't want to sound like that guy, but I feel like one or two of these guys might not even make the roster come September. We have all
Yeah.
these plethora of picks, kind of like your Ben Masons, your Sean Wades. You draft them. Are they going to make the team? You hope so, but they might not. So those are mine. Questionable. But your Rosengard, I mean, you gave the stats, you backed it up. So I'm not going to argue with there. I definitely can understand where you're coming from.
So let me get this right and correct me if I'm wrong. Do you think that the BPA strategy employed by EDC was not the right one to go with? I mean, because when you say like we're drafting players just to draft them, what they're doing is they're going like when it's their turn to draft, they're saying, okay, which guy that's still available was highest on our big board, and
Yeah.
then we're just going to go
Yeah.
with the highest one, and that's literally BPA right there. So do you disagree with that tactic?
No, I mean, I gave us a B plus, I think, for the draft overall. It's
Mhm.
mainly the fact that we're getting guys um, that kind of have a fringe shot to make the roster, honestly. Um, Ali, I knew we were going to get running back. I just don't feel like he is the mold I really wanted. I wanted a different type of running back. He's a small speedster, and like once again, he has fumbling issues. We've seen that how many times that fumbles, have hurt this offense before. I was dealing with him, I think, last year and the year before. We don't need any more of that. I'm not saying it's the wrong idea because who am I to tell him it's the wrong idea, but there's just some picks where I'm like, eh. But at the same time, it's round 6, round 7. Um,
Right.
I'm just hoping we can get a gem, but who knows? Yeah, not the wrong idea, but like I said, who am I to say?
Yeah. Okay, well, let's go ahead and move right along here to our last category of this episode of the Purple Rain Report, which is going to be our favorite pick, or the
Yes.
best value pick, the
Yeah.
biggest steal of the
Yeah.
draft. This is going to be a very interesting one. I would love to hear what you have to say on this one. I'm thinking we might be different, but at the
Okay.
same time, we've also had these moments before where we're kind of on the same wavelength with things, and
Okay.
I have a crazy feeling we might just be on this
Okay.
one. So I started the last one. I'll let you start this one.
So I know we're gonna do a pick, but real quick, Bo Braid, UDFA, fucking steal. Sorry,
Okay.
he had a 4th round grade. I was raving about him when we had hella films on here. How I wanted him. I'm so happy we got him. He will make the team. I'm gonna stamp that right now. He will make the team. He'll be one of our backup safeties. He might even make it over the guy from Purdue. I'm just gonna put that out there. Braid is something serious. Don't know how he went undrafted, but my biggest steal by far, TJ Tampa. TJ fucking Tampa.
We here, baby. That's me
Like
too.
I did. It was
Yeah.
the 2nd round. I'm like, how was he still here? 3rd round, how was he still here? I'm like, all right, we're on a day 3. How is TJ Tampa still here? And we
Yeah.
land him. He can hit. He can intercept the ball. He can cover. He's big. He's a Raven already. That
Yeah.
I just love what I saw from him in that cornerback position.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about a guy who, and I said Nate Wiggins kind of reminds me of Marlon Humphrey, and I was just kind of talking about physicality, things like that. I think TJ Tampa fits that mold even more, maybe without as much of the forced fumbles that we used to get and the fruit punches that we used to get from Marlon Humphrey that we are seeing from Nate Wiggins um in his college career. But TJ Tampa, a guy that here's my biggest things, two biggest things, right? Number one, very physical, of course, I already mentioned that, but violent at the point of attack, kind of like bringing back that enforcer role on this secondary would be absolutely huge. You know what I mean? Like he loves to be, he has great instincts and he tracks the ball really well. So that way, jump balls, things like that, those are going to be all his. He's going to be all over things like that, as well as Kyle Hamilton. I just think that this defense, this secondary is literally at this point filled with vultures, right? Vultures just
Mm-hmm.
waiting to kind of buzz down and pick up whatever is there. But the second thing, he excels the most in zone coverage based off of his tape, based off of all the scouting reports, things like that. And luckily, the Ravens actually run zone coverage on defense about 70% of the time, 69.2 to be exact, but about 70% of the time, if we're going to round up there, the Ravens are running some sort of zone coverage on defense. So having this guy, TJ Tampa, I think was an absolute steal. Of course, that we got him on, would you say day 3, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
130.
yeah, 130. So I think that's round 4. Yeah, that is absolutely insane value for somebody like that. And it just adds to, of course, already having a Nate Wiggins that we drafted um, in the first round. Again, no fly zone. is basically all I have to say to wrap that up, man.
Yeah.
That was my favorite pick, just because of where we got him and what it does for our secondary and how it really kind of caps it off and it makes it impenetrable in a lot of ways, given that we're able to utilize it in the right way. We certainly did last year in a lot of ways, so hopefully we can carry that on this year with the new defensive coordinator.
Yeah, and you mentioned him, being able to go up there and get the ball. I actually found out he was a receiver turned DB. So he has a little bit of experience catching the pigskin, which is also a good thing. Hopefully, we get more
Nice.
picks out there. But yeah, I mean, seeing him at 130, I was honestly running around jumping for joy. I
Yeah.
was so happy he fell to us. I didn't plan on him even being there. I was expecting him in the 80s and the 90s. Slid, and there he is. So, like I said, overall, I think it was a really good draft. The Ravens, B plus. I know people didn't like the pick of the quarterback from Kentucky, but after hearing, he had a good talk with T. Martin, our quarterbacks coach. I full trust in him, full faith in him. He'll be battling out for the backup position. So, like I said, I thought it was a good draft overall. I don't know what you thought, but yeah, EDC, do your thing.
Yeah, I would give the draft I would have given the draft a I'm tethering between like C plus and B minus right now. That's
Okay.
where I'm at. So a little bit lower than where you had him. And again, man, it's really just because I felt like that the Ravens should have went out there with the 30th pick overall and gotten an offensive tackle. Now
Yeah.
I do realize that what was it, like 8 went off the board before we got to pick. And like that
Yeah.
was, yeah, a lot of them got nuked
Yeah.
early. And so I
Yeah.
understand it from that perspective a little bit, but man, it's just that's just the way that the cookie crumbles sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're kind of forced to go BPA or go with a position that's not necessarily as high a priority as the one that you actually really need. So, and that ends up affecting your score one way or another. So that's the thing about the draft. It's kind of like a gamble. You never know what exactly is going to happen. That's why people are literally allowed to gamble on the draft and the things that happen in the draft, which is crazy.
Yeah.
But
I mean, Kool Aid
overall, it's
McKinstry
good
falling out
though.
in the first round. I mean, I didn't think
Oh
that
my
was going to happen.
gosh.
I
Exactly.
mean,
Huge
Penix
surprises.
at 8.
Yeah.
I was honestly, that was
Now,
one of the few
I kind of
things.
saw that one. Yeah.
I'll be honest, I didn't think the Falcons. I knew he was going to go first round, but that was very surprising to me. But I don't hate it at all. I mean, Kirk Cousins coming off an Achilles injury makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, okay. So we did our favorite picks, our biggest busts, and our biggest surprise of this 2024 NFL draft for the Baltimore Ravens. Now we want to know what you guys think. Take those 3 categories and post it down below in the comment section because again, this is not a live video. This is a pre-recorded Purple Rain report. As you guys know, we've done this before many times, right? So what you're going to do is you're going to put it down below in the comment section. It's going to bring more traffic to the video so we get more people talking about this because we want to kind of get you guys' opinions as well. And on our next live video, we all want to kind of talk about it together, right? So
Yes.
this is kind of like a preface to that. So make sure you drop your comments down below with any questions, comments, or concerns you may have had with anything that we said. Um,
Yeah.
but yes, with that being said, we're going to go ahead and get out of here on this one. This has been yet another Purple Rain report brought to you by your boy Simply AS10 and me at Sutton Def. We appreciate each and every one of you guys for supporting the channel. The season is in like the prime of the off season right now, right? It's like the prime of the off
Yeah.
season after the draft and when training camp starts. That couple month stretch is a little painful, right?
It
But
is.
we're here to ease that pain. We're here to ease that pain in whatever way we can. So make sure you stay tuned to the Purple Rain Podcast YouTube channel. I know I just got off of vacation, so I am back to work here. There will be
Charged
more
up.
videos coming soon. So yeah, I'm charged up. Exactly. Ready for revenge, like Kendrick Lamar, right? So
Oh.
we'll be here. We'll be here. By the way, I haven't even listened to the disc yet. Haven't even heard the new disc. So I
Okay.
got to get in that headspace. So
Okay.
we'll see. But yeah, my name is Sutton Def. You can follow me on Twitter or Instagram at below. You can follow this guy on Twitter at simplyas10 or on Instagram at simplyas10.prod. You can find both of us on Instagram at the Purple Rain Podcast. And like he led the episode with Manscaped, who is our sponsor, is offering a huge array of really great products. And if you want to go
Mhm.
ahead and indulge in some of those products, use our code PRP at the checkout. You're going to save yourself 20% off. Plus, you get free international shipping. And with that being said, I'm going to let my guy Alex take us out of this one.
Thank you for coming through to this episode of the Purple Rain Report. As always, thank you very much. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. as always, stay positive, test negative.
Yeah, and never, ever, ever forget, even on the rainiest of days, to call God. It's been another episode of the Purple Rain Report. We're going to catch you guys in the next one. Peace.